The wagon wheel groaned against the dry earth as it stopped at the edge of the ranch. Dust swirled in the still air. Elias Carter stood in the doorway of his cabin, hat low over his brow, watching the figure climb down from the wagon. A young woman, her dress travel-worn, her hands trembling as she clutched a small trunk. She did not look up right away. When she did, her eyes were tired and shadowed, as though she had not slept in weeks. Elias stepped forward. "You're Clara Mayfield." She nodded, her voice a whisper. "I am." The driver spat, slapped the mule's reins, and the wagon rattled back toward the trail, leaving only the two of them in the silence of prairie. Elias reached for her trunk. She pulled it close to her chest instead. Her lips parted, then closed again, as if she wanted to speak, but was not ready. Finally, she set the trunk down in the dust. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice tight, almost breaking. Elias waited, his weathered face unreadable, her hands twisted in the fabric of her dress. "I've been hurting down there." Elias stiffened. His first thought was illness, a wound from travel, something he would need to fetch herbs for, or maybe ride for the doctor in town. But the way she said it, her voice catching, her eyes darting away, the sudden tremor in her shoulders, told another story. He spoke carefully. "From the road." Her silence answered him. She did not look at him. Her breath came shallow, chest rising and falling too fast. "Not just from the road," she said at last. Wind pushed against the prairie grass. A crow called from the canyon rim. Elias did not press her further. He only nodded once, slow, as though the weight of her words settled somewhere deep inside him. Inside the cabin, she sat stiffly at the rough-hewn table. Elias set a tin cup of water in front of her. She didn't drink. Her hands remained folded, white-knuckled, until she finally spoke again. "It was them who brought me west. Said I'd find a husband here. Said a new life waited for me." Her throat worked as she swallowed. "But on the road, they took what they wanted first." The words trembled out like broken glass. She stared at the table, refusing to meet his eyes. Elias's jaw tightened. The cup rattled slightly as his hand left it on the wood. He stared out the window, past the canyon, past the endless red horizon. His silence pressed heavy. "They work for him," Clara said after a long pause. "Silas Boone. He owns a saloon in Dry Creek. He's the one who sends for the girls. Tells them there's good men waiting. But most never make it. Or if they do, they don't last long." Her shoulders curled in. She looked smaller by the second. Elias finally spoke, his voice low, steady. "Why come all the way here, then?" Her answer was soft, almost a whisper. "Because I had no place left to go." The room went quiet again, except for the ticking of the clock on the wall. Outside, the light began to change, sun lowering, sky bruising with the edge of a coming storm. Elias fetched bread from the shelf, sliced it, set it down with a wedge of cheese. Clara touched neither. He sat across from her, his hands resting heavy on the table. "You're safe here," he said. Her eyes lifted at last. Doubt, hope, and fear tangled together in them. She said nothing. Later, after the meal had gone cold, Elias stepped outside. The prairie wind carried the smell of dust and rain. He walked to the shed, opened a box in the shadows. Inside lay a revolver wrapped in old cloth. He unwrapped it slowly, the steel catching what little light remained. His hand closed around the grip, and a memory stirred. Screams in the night, the crack of gunfire, blood on dry soil. He set the gun back in its box, covering it again, closed the lid. But his chest ached with the knowledge that the past never stayed buried long. Behind him, the cabin door creaked open. Clara's voice quiet. "You knew men like them once, didn't you?" Elias did not turn. "I knew worse." She stepped closer, standing in the threshold. The wind pushed her hair across her face. "If he finds out I'm here, Boone won't let it be." "I know." The storm rolled closer, thunder muttering against the cliffs. Elias's hand twitched once at his side, the ghost of a gunfighter's draw. He turned, meeting her eyes at last. "You needn't be afraid any more," he said. Her lips pressed together, not quite believing, but not daring to doubt him either. Lightning split the horizon. The sound rolled over them, heavy and sharp. Elias looked past her into the dark cabin, then back to the gathering storm. His jaw set firm. He knew this quiet would not last. Boots thudded on dry earth. Elias Carter stepped into the wide, empty street of Dry Creek. Dust spiraled low around his legs. Doors were barred, windows shuttered, the whole town holding its breath. At the far end, the saloon porch sagged under the weight of men with rifles. Silas Boone stood in the middle of them, cigar burning red in the noon light. "Well now," Boone called, voice thick and cruel, "if it ain't the lonely rancher. Thought you buried that fighting spirit with your woman." Elias kept walking. His coat brushed against his legs, heavy with dust and memory. His revolver hung at his side, hand loose, eyes steady. The first gunman spat over the rail. "Old man slower than a church bell," he muttered. Elias stopped in the center of the street. Silence stretched. A hawk circled above. The wind tugged at his hat brim. Boone grinned wide, showing too many teeth. "Lay her down gentle, Carter. Send the girl back where she belongs. We'll forget this little stunt of yours." Elias spoke, voice flat as stone. "She stays." The words cracked the silence like a whip. Boone's grin faltered. His eyes hardened. "Then you die." Boone flicked 2 fingers. The first rifle lifted. A shot ripped the air, too slow. Elias's revolver cleared leather in a flash, thunder cracking from his hand. The gunman spun, crashed into the railing, dead before his rifle hit the dust. The second never fired. Elias's second bullet caught him in the chest, throwing him back into the wall. The street echoed with screams, boots slamming, the chaos of men suddenly unsure. Elias stood still, revolver smoking, eyes locked on Boone. "Widowmaker," one of the men hissed. The name carried like poison in the wind. Boone's jaw tightened. "That's just an old ghost," he snarled. But his voice trembled. 3 more drew fast, fanning fire. Bullets kicked dirt at Elias's boots, shattered a water barrel behind him. Elias moved with deadly calm. 1 shot, then another, each man collapsing into silence. When the smoke cleared, only Boone remained, his face pale beneath the cigar ash. He grabbed something from the doorway, yanked Clara forward, knife pressed against her throat. "Enough!" Boone bellowed. His hand shook, eyes darting. "Drop it, Carter, or she bleeds." Clara's eyes were wide, locked on Elias. She did not cry. Her hands trembled, clenched at her sides. Elias raised his revolver slowly, holding Boone's gaze. "Let her go." Boone laughed ragged, desperate. "You ain't fast enough, not with her in the way." He pressed the knife harder. A thin line of red bloomed against Clara's skin. Her lips parted. "Elias," the word broke him inside, but his face stayed carved from stone. His finger tightened on the trigger, then stopped. The angle was wrong. Boone knew it. And then Clara moved, quick as a rattler. Her hand darted to Elias's knife, still sheathed at his belt. She tore it free, spun, drove it into Boone's side. Boone roared in pain, his grip loosening. Clara wrenched away, stumbling clear. Elias's revolver cracked once. Boone jerked back, eyes wide with shock, the knife slipping from his hand. He staggered onto the saloon steps, fell heavy into the dust. Silence. Smoke curled from Elias's gun. He lowered it, breath steady, chest rising slow. Around them, the street remained empty, the townsfolk hidden but listening. Clara stood trembling, the knife slick in her hand. Elias stepped to her, took it gently, tossed it aside. His rough fingers brushed her wrist, steadying her. "It's done," he said. Her eyes searched his, wide, uncertain. "And you?" He looked down at the revolver in his hand. For a moment, it was heavy as iron chains. Then he let it fall into the dust beside Boone's body. "I'm done," he said. The wind carried the words down the silent street. A door creaked open somewhere. A woman's voice whispered, "Boone's gone." Another echoed it, then another. The hush broke, like a town exhaling after years of being strangled. Elias turned to Clara. Her face was pale, but her spine straightened, her chin lifting with something stronger than fear. He touched his hat brim, a gesture not of farewell, but of respect. "You're safe now." Her hand caught his sleeve. "Not safe. Not alone. Don't leave me to be either." Elias met her gaze. The storm inside him eased. For the first time in years, he felt the weight shift from his shoulders. He nodded once. Behind him, the hawk cried and wheeled higher, the sun breaking through thin clouds. Dry Creek stood still, watching, remembering.